You cannot rebuild your self-worth on top of a system which is dependent on external validation. So we are going to rebuild it from ground up. And most people try to do it backwards. They try to feel better about themselves while the broken system is still running. It does not work. Hi, and welcome back to this channel. I am Vibhuti, your performance and authority trainer. I believe that authority is not personality. It's a neurosystems training to build capacity. And that's exactly what we do on this channel. If you watched the previous video, you now know that fusing your identity with your outputs creates a nervous system dependency on being measured. In such a case, you're not creating work, not creating anything meaningful. You're creating a check-in system for your worth. So the question is, how do you build a self-worth that does not collapse when somebody is not witnessing your progress? And here's what this video is not. This is not about affirmations. It's not about pretending that metrics do not matter. What this video is a 3-layer system which you can build one layer at a time. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly where you are in that system and what to do next. This is about creating a system that takes reference from itself and not from any external source. This allows you to produce from coherence and not from compensation. Because until you decouple your worth from your output, every work you create is just a defense mechanism. And that's exhausting. It's completely unsustainable. And deep down, I think all of us already know that. Let me show you two systems. The first is the external validation system, where your worth depends on being seen. This is very, very fragile. This system collapses the moment you are invisible. The alternative, the second system, is the internal coherence system, where your worth exists independent of being measured. This system is stable. It survives invisibility. In fact, it even thrives in invisibility. But here's what most people do not understand. You can't decide to switch between the two systems. You have to rebuild the foundations from the ground up. And there is a specific question that will help you identify whether your self-worth is internal or borrowed. I will give it to you in a moment. Here is why this matters neurologically and why most self-help advice fails. When you build a self-worth that's internal rather than external, 3 brain systems shift completely. First, your default mode network, your DMN, is activated when you're thinking about yourself, when you're reflecting on yourself, your identity, your values, your sense of continuity. When your self-concept is externalized, this same DMN is constantly scanning external data to confirm who you are. That's cognitively very expensive and emotionally unstable. When you switch to an internal locus of worth, the DMN now looks at internal states, your values, your coherence, your alignment with what you've chosen. This is neurologically much cheaper and emotionally stable. If introspection is your compass, here's a question. Have you been ignoring it all your life? Most high performers have, and if you are truthful to yourself, you will know that's the right answer. Second, interoception. Your brain's ability to sense your body's state, not just heartbeat and breath, but also your emotional and energetic coherence. The insula is able to process this. When you train your interoceptive awareness, you can tell the difference. When are you actually operating from awareness, from alignment, versus when you're operating from compensation? That felt self now becomes your compass. You do not rely on any external measurement. The measurement is right within your body. Third, when your worth is externalized, your prefrontal cortex is always activated in a reactive mode, constantly adjusting behavior to maximize validation. But when you make your worth internal, the PFC, the prefrontal cortex, now starts focusing on value-based decision making. You produce because it aligns with your values, not because you have to prove that you exist. The result, you go from I need to produce something to know that I am valuable to I already know that I am valuable and my work is an expression of that. This is not just a mindset shift. It's a powerful nervous system shift. Neurologically, this is the difference between threat response and coherence-driven action. But before we build the system, we need to know to understand what self-worth actually is, because most people are building the wrong thing entirely. Let me show you the architecture. This is the coherence model, and here's what most people do wrong. They try to build authority without focusing on the foundations first. To establish the foundation, we start with level 1, which is cognitive capacity. This is nervous system regulation, internal safety. You can't have a self-worth which is independent of output if your nervous system is dysregulated. Level 2 is pattern integrity. This is behavior aligned with your values, creating self-referential tracking. You cannot have integrity if you haven't defined your values. This is the structure. Here's the part that no one tells you. Most people are stuck at level 1 because they skip the most important thing that makes the foundation. Then comes level 3, coherence, where your worth is independent of your output and you achieve calm under invisibility. This is what you're building towards. And here's where most people are right now. They're trying to build level 3 without building level 1, which is why it keeps collapsing. You can't skip levels. But here's the good news. Each level is trainable. And once you build the foundation, everything else becomes inevitable. I'll tell you when I knew I'd made the shift. I had a project that I had worked on for months, working day and night, slogging, working hard to achieve outputs. And the response was really poor. A year earlier, that would have sent me into an existential spike. But this time, I noticed something different. I felt complete with the work before I sent out the report, not waiting for validation, just complete, satisfied from within. I'd created something that I believed in. I'd honored the process. And when the metrics did not move the way I expected, I felt fine. I wasn't pretending to be fine. I was actually fine because my worth was not in the outcome. It was in the fact that I had chosen the work. I had executed it with integrity, and in the fact that I remained aligned with my values throughout. That's when I realized that I had rebuilt the system. My identity was no longer externalized. It was mine again. And that's the moment you are working towards. In Vedic psychology, there is a concept called Swadharma, your self-aligned action. Not what others accept, not what's most visible, but what's in alignment with your nature and your true purpose. The teaching is this: when you act with Swadharma, the act in itself is the reward. You do not need external confirmation or validation because you're already in coherence. This is the opposite of paradharma, acting according to others' expectations, performing for validation, living someone else's script. And here's the paradox. When you stop needing external validation, your work becomes more worth seeing because it's no longer compensatory. It's no longer an act, a performance. It's organic. It's real. It's raw. It's true expression. And expression has a frequency that performance can never achieve. Here's what you have now. If you haven't watched the last video, start there. It'll help you understand this better. Link is in the description. If you want to go deeper into nervous system regulation and identity work, subscribe to this channel. I release videos regularly. And if you are invested in your growth as a leader and are committed to it, you can join the waitlist to my program. The link is in my bio. I would love to hear your insights on this video in the comments. See you in the next one.